All right, here we are, day 2. Good day, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please say something in chat. Hi, Alessia. Great, wonderful. It's going. All right, everyone. Well, welcome to day 2 of RustLab. If you don't know me already, my name is Latara. I'll be the talk manager for this year's RustLab 2020 live. I'll be facilitating a little bit and helping out with Q&A. Today, though, we have a 3-hour live workshop planned for you by Mario Garcia. It's called Create and Deploy Your First Rust Web App. And let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Garcia. He has been an active open source user and contributor for over a decade. He's been a speaker at tech and innovation events since 2008, has attended events in Latin America and Europe. He's an active Mozilla contributor. He has been since 2011, and also for Mozilla Reps. He joined GitHub Lab Heroes in 2019 and has been supporting communities in Latin America. He's a Python and Rust web developer and also writes occasionally on Dev. So what about today's workshop? What are we going to be talking about? Here's the abstract. Creating web apps is one way you can use Rust. With frameworks like Rocket, you can create fast and secure applications. Then deploying your project is a task you can complete with any CI/CD tool that supports Rust and the platform you choose. So this workshop will guide you through that whole process. So what we will do actually is go ahead and do a small video presentation, and then we will bring Mr. Mario Garcia live. So let me go ahead and start with that, and we might actually take a moment. Let me check with the moderators about something really quickly, and I'll be right back with you. We're going to start the video now, so I hope you enjoy, and then we'll come back with Mario Garcia for the workshop. So thanks for joining. Here we go with the video. All right, here we are with Mario Garcia live. Hello there, and welcome to our RustLab workshop. I think you can actually just take it away now if you are ready to begin.
Thanks, Latara. Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to join RustLab this year, and I hope you get the basics of Rocket through this workshop. Let me share the slide so we can start. So what we're going to see through this workshop, at first we are going to learn the basics of Rocket. Rocket is a web framework for Rust. We will talk about a little bit in a minute. The directory structure of an app view with this framework, the template languages that Rocket support, how we declare the root for our application, and we will create some examples, and one that we are going to take from our local dev environment to a production environment. We're going to create a Git repository for that. I will explain how we configure our applications so that we can take our project from our local environment to a production environment in the cloud, in a platform like Heroku. And by the end of the workshop, we will have an app running on Heroku. And well, let's start. So what is Rocket? Rocket is a web framework for Rust. It makes simple to build fast and secure web applications without sacrificing some of the features that Rust provides us. They are flexibility, usability, or type safety. If you want to know more about this framework, you can go to rocket.rs, the official website of this framework for web development. So first, what are the most relevant features that Rocket provides us with? It has support for both stable and nightly. The latest version available of Rocket is 0.4.5, but the next version that will be released soon will have support for the stable version, but you can try it out. We will see that later, and we will see what are the changes between one and another version. It's boilerplate free. That means that once we know the anatomy of a Rocket web app and how we have to, or what is the structure of an app built with this framework, we will focus on writing code and building the features of our project. It is extensible. As it is built with Rocket, we can use any crate that is available from crates.io. It has built-in support for JSON and some template languages. It has that databases integration. We won't cover this at this workshop, but you can check the official documentation. So as I told you before, Rocket works with nightly, at least the latest version available. There is one version that is under development and that will have support for the stable version of Rust. But first, we will see how we can create a web app with this framework using the nightly version of Rust. So at first, we install Rust nightly if we haven't done that yet. Then we create a new project. We change to that directory and set the default toolchain. Let me share my screen so we can start with this first example. So if you want to store the examples that we are going to create a directory where you can store those projects that you will be building through this workshop. So at first we create a new project. For that we will be using Cargo. And the name that we will give to this project is Hello RustLab. Now that we have a project created, we will change to that directory. And now we have to set the default toolchain for our project. We will be using the nightly version. As you see in my prompt, it automatically configure the stable version, but we will see that later. So with this command, we set the default toolchain for our project that will be Rust nightly.
Sorry, Mario, just I am so sorry to interrupt you. It seems that we were not able to see your screen at the moment. Everyone was seeing a black screen.
Okay, let me check that.
Right now I just see the PowerPoint, and now I see a black screen again. So sorry, these technical difficulties happen. It is working now. Okay, I'll let you continue. Thank you for that. Okay.
Thanks. Well, so I was telling you that first we have to create a new project. We will name this project as Hello RustLab. As you see here in my terminal. Then we change to that directory, and then we set the default toolchain for our project that will be Rust nightly. Okay, so we have created our first project, but before writing the code that will launch our first web app, we have to add the dependencies of our project. At first, we will be using Rocket, so that we have to specify that in our manifest, that is the cargo.toml file. After we created the project, inside the directory that Cargo created, there is a directory named SRC, where the code of our application will be, and our manifest, where we have to specify the dependencies of our project. So we have our manifest and the directory for the Rust code. Now we must edit the manifest of our project, and we will add Rocket as a dependency. The latest version available is 0.4.5. So I will be using the terminal later we will change to a graphical editor. I will be using VS Code, but you can use the editor you want. Well, so now that we added the dependencies of our project, before writing the code of our first application, we will build the project so that it downloads the dependencies and compile the project. So we don't have to do that later, as it will download many files. So we are going to build our projects. So Cargo starts downloading the dependencies. It will download Rocket and the dependencies or crates that that Rocket depends on. It will take some minutes, so we will continue with writing the code of our application. So after we added the dependencies, we are going to write the code of our first application. As Rocket works with Rust nightly, we have to tell the compiler that some features that are only available in nightly are the features that Rocket requires. So we have to specify that in the first lines of the code. Then we have to import the Rocket crate, declare the root of our application. We must specify the method in the path where the requests that are made through the browser are received, and then a function or method that will handle those requests received that the application received through the browser. And finally, we have to mount those roots and launch the application. Let's see how we do that. So the first line that we see here is to tell the compiler that these features that are only available in the nightly version of Rust are required for Rocket. In the next version of Rocket, this line won't be required. We will see that later. Then we have to import the crate into the namespace of our application. We will start with that. So Cargo is still downloading those dependencies, but I will open a new terminal. So in the src directory, we have the main.rc file, rs file, where we have to write the code of our application. So now we're going to edit that file. And then we have to import the Rocket crate. So now that we tell the compiler the features that Rocket require, and that we import the Rocket crate, we have to declare the root where the application where we will receive the request sent through the browser. So Rocket has support for other HTTP methods. I will show you that later, but as we will access the application through the browser, the first method that we have to declare is get, and the path where the application will receive those requests is root. We can change this path later. We will see another example about it. And now we have to declare the function or method where those requests will be received, and this function will handle those requests. The function will return a text that we will see in the browser when we access the application, and the data type of this value is a string. So we have to specify the data type of the value that we will be returning from this function. And then in the main function, we have to mount the routes that we declare, and after that launch the application. So for that we create a new Rocket instance, and after that we mount the routes that we defined before. First, we specify the path where the request will be received. And using the macro routes, we specify the routes that we are mounting. And then we launch the application. So now we have our first project ready to be built, and then we can run the application and go to the browser and see the application live. So I will go back to the terminal so you can see what we do next. Cargo has downloaded all the dependency for our project, so now we can run our application. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me check the code again. Yeah, my bad. Here, the name of this function must be index. As that is the name that we specify as the route that we are mounting. So okay. Okay, I forgot to add the semicolon. So now that I just fixed the errors I had in the code. After we execute the command cargo run, cargo starts the server for our project, and now we can go to the browser and open localhost and the port where the application is listening on is 8000. We can change the port adding a configuration file. We won't do that now, but when we see the example of the project that we will take to a production environment, we will see how we change the port and other configuration options. So now you can go to the browser. And what we will see is the text that we added in the index function, that is the request handler that is processing those requests received through the browser when we go to the address of our server. Anyone else is having problems seeing my screen? Okay, so if we're okay with the first exercise, I will continue. Okay, so this is just a basic example where the app just print some text in the browser. These are the methods that the HTTP methods that Rocket has support for. We won't see all of them, but we will see examples of get and post. Well, and now when we created the project, we have a directory named SRC in the manifest of our project, but for applications where we used template languages for writing the HTML code and other parts of the project, we have to add some additional directories. For example, a static where we would put the CSS files, the CSS and JavaScript files, as well as images and other files that we need for the project, and the templates file where we will put the HTML documents that we will load through the Rust code. In the src directory, we can have 3 files. The one that we edited before, we can have a lead.rs, where if we are creating some libraries for our project, the code must be there. And we also can have a file for writing the code for testing our application. If we want to check if any resource of our application is available, or if any file that must be read by Rust is also available, we put that on the test.rs file. And when we are defining the template for our application, we can divide the code into these files. The layout that will load all of the parts of the HTML document, the body, head, and footer of our document, and every part of the HTML document is loaded through the corresponding template. We will see an example of that in some minutes. In the static directory, we can have CSS files, JavaScript files, as well as images. I'm using the data directory for storing some JSONs. One of the examples that we will see later reads a JSON file and then bring that data into the HTML document. Rocket has support for 2 template languages, Handlebars and Terra. Terra is a template language created for Rust. We can use Terra outside of our Rust project, and this is inspired by Jinja and the Django template language. If you want to check the documentation of both template languages, you can go directly to the official website of every one of them. Okay. So in our first example, we declare just a root, the index root, where the first request is processed, but we can declare as many roots as we need. A root is a combination of a set of parameters to match an incoming request against, that is the method and the path of those requests, and a function or the handler that will process the request and return some content or a response for the request that the function received. We can change the path where the routes that we declare are loaded, and we have to declare a function for every route that we need for our project. If we go back to the first example and change the code, okay, we can stop our application by pressing Control C. I will be working in the same project. For example, if we change the route, we can also change the path where those routes will be mounted. The idea here is that, for example, if you go to hello/world in the browser, when we go to this URL in the browser, it must show the text that we define in the request handler for this route. We can build our project again. I will delete that line. So now we can go to the browser and change the URLs here. It will show the same text that we saw before. But what happens if we go to this route? As we haven't declared this route, if we try to go to that URL, it will show an error. So if we want that application process the request that this route received, we have to declare the corresponding function for that and specify the method and the path of the route. We can also have dynamic routes. We can pass some values through the address bar of the browser. Okay. Okay, so the now method takes as input two values, the base path that could be root or could be hello, like the example that we see before, and a list of roots via the roots macro. And for mounting those roots, we add that to the mount method by passing the base path and the roots that we are loading for our project, and then we launch the application. We can add another route for the hello route, so that when we go to that URL, it will show another text or any other content that we want. As I told you before, we can also have some dynamics path. We can pass some values through the address bar of the browser. For that, we have to after the root, we declare the variable that will receive that value, and in the function, the data type that we assign to that value will be raw string. Every value that we receive from the browser, it will be of this data type, and the value or the data type of the value that we have to return must be a string, so that it can show the text correctly, and we have to convert this value to a string using this method. Okay. For example, if in the browser we go to this URL, show this text. And this is the value that we pass to the request handler so that it can print the text in the browser. This is the variable that will receive that value. We have to specify the data type and the data type for the value that will return. In this case, it will be a string, and we have to format the okay, so this is the variable that will receive that value, and this is the data type that the function will return. And using the format macro, we print the value of that variable, but before we have to convert the value to a string, and then we print that value in the browser. Okay. Okay. But we have to add this macro, as this is a data type that is part of Rocket, part of the definition of the framework. So we have to tell the compiler that this data type is part of the crate that we are using for building our application. Okay. Now we run our project. And if we go to the browser, okay. Okay. We have to change the base path and the route that we declared before. Okay. I forgot to change the name of our request handler. Okay. So this is the value that we are passing from the address bar of the browser. We can change this by this for another value, and it will print the value of that the value that we are passing through the browser. We can also redirect from one route to another one. For example, here if we add these lines of code to the project that we are working on, when the user goes to this URL and pass the values for the variables name and age, the function will receive those values and store them in the name and age variables that have a string and U8 for as data type, and it will return a string. Okay, not this one. If we go to this URL in the browser and pass the values for these variables, what the function will be doing is to store those values in the name and age variables, but will redirect and return those values to another route that is declared above. And when we go to after redirecting from this route to this one, it will print this message with the values of the variables that we pass to the browser to our application. Okay. If we want to add the static directory as part of the base path, I mean, the static directory has the CSS and JavaScript files, as well as images and other content. But if we want to load this directory into the base path, so that when we go to so that when we go to this URL, it must show the content of this file. What we are doing in the code that I showed in the slides, it will load all of the directories and files from the static directory into this base path, so that if we go to localhost slash CSS, it will show the content of that directory. Or if we go to localhost slash images, it will also load the content of that directory. This is just a way that we load the static files in the base path of our project. But with the release of the latest version of Rocket, it isn't necessary to route those lines of code. We can mount that directory and tell the compiler that where the static files are located.
All right. Is it okay if we stop for a 5-minute break, Mario? I think we're about ready for one. What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds
it's
good.
okay. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So everyone, we are going to take a 5-minute break. So we'll be here at 37 after. And I know that's so early for you, Mario. So thank you for being here. So early. We appreciate your passion to be here, even if you are up very, very early. It's 6:30 in Mexico.
Yeah, 6:30.
6:30. Wow. Amazing. So thank you so much for that. All right, everyone, grab a coffee or whatever you need, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes. So take a break. Thank you. All right, everyone, welcome back. And hopefully, you got some delicious hot beverage to drink or some good food. And we'll get right back to the workshop. Let's go back live with Mario. Here we go. All right, take it away. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So, okay, this is just a way that we load the static directory into the base path of our application. When the latest version of Rocket was released, um, the developers made some changes to the definition of the static file, so we don't have to write all all the lines of code that we see here. There is a short way to mount the static directory. In the exercise that we're going to work next, we will see how we can do that without having to write all of the lines of code that we see here. So the way that we do this in the latest version of Rocket is by using the static files macro, and we have to tell the compiler that we will be using that macro, and we have to mount this directory in the main function of our application with the roots that we define for our project. But let's work on our first exercise. We will go into work on a form with a text box where user will type name, and after the user press the submit button, it will show a welcome message. First, if you go to the URL that you see in the slides, there is some snippets that are that we will be using for this and the next exercise that we are going to work on. So go to this URL so you can get the code snippets that we will need. So now we have to create another project, and the name that we must assign will be welcome RustLab. It could be another name. You can choose another name if you want, and then we change to that directory and again set the default toolchain for the project. So we will do that first before continue. So I will leave the directory of the exercise that we saw before, and we'll create another project. Welcome RustLab. Then we change to that directory, set the default toolchain that will be nightly, and edit the manifest of our project for adding the dependencies. First, we add Rocket. This is not the only dependency that we will add. But if you go to the URL that you see in the slides, you will have the following content, and go to the first snippet that is listed there. There you will have all the required files for building our first example. Well, this is not necessary as we just added the Rocket crate as dependencies, but okay, this is for the example that we worked on before, so this is not the snippet that we need for our first. It will be this one, the one that is listed as work on RustLab. So here we add Rocket as dependencies, but we also add Rocket contrib. The version of those crates are the same. Here we specify the template language that we are going to use for our project. I'm using handlebars, so we will add this to our manifest. So this is the name of the crate, the version, and the features that we are that will be available. In this case, we only need handlebars, so it can render correctly the HTML documents. And after adding the dependencies, I recommend that you build the projects. So Cargo downloads all the dependencies. As we are using another crate for our project, then the number of dependencies is greater than the example that we see before. So it will take some time to download all of the dependencies. Okay. So now we have to create some directories. Now we have to create the templates directory. As we are not using any CSS file or JavaScript, we don't need to create a static directory. We add the dependencies to the cargo.toml file, and then create the index template. These are the dependencies that we added before. Okay, so now we create the templates directory. In the templates directory, we will only have one file. That is the HTML document that we see in the code snippets that I shared before. So we copy the content of this document, and we are going to create a new document here, but instead of having the HTML extension, it will have HBS, which is the extension that is used for handlebar. So we copy the content of the index.html file, and now we are going to edit our main.rs file. Okay, so first we have to tell the compiler about the features that Rocket require. And we have to import the Rocket crate, and we also have to input the Rocket concrete crate. We will only have one root. The method that will the HTTP method will be get. And the request handler will be index. But the data type of the value that will return this time will be template, as it will render the index template, the HBS file that we created before. And for using the render method, we pass to this method two values: the name of the template that will be rendered, and if we want to pass any value to the HTML document, after passing the name of the template, we can pass the name of the variable that contains the value that we need to print in the HTML document. But as it is only loading HTML document and we don't need to pass any value, we just pass this as parameter to the render method. Here in the main function, first we have to mount the base path and the root. We only have one root, that is index. And we have to attach the fairing, that is the fairing method, that is the middleware that loads the template that we specify in the index root. So as you see here. Okay. 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 As I told you before, we have to attach the fairing method that will load the template. For that, we pass this method as value to the attach method, so it can load the template correctly. But we also have to tell Rust that we will be using the template macro. So we have to add this line before the definition of our root, the root of our application. After we add the lines that are pending, and if we run the application, we will see this form in the browser. So and after attaching the fairing, we launched the application. Okay. 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 If we go now to the browser here, okay, let's see. There is a problem loading the. Let's see. Okay, I forgot to add the name of the template that we are rendering here, but now it should work. Okay, but I just copy the wrong content, but we just changed that. This is the file that contains the form where the user will type name. I will only replace that content in the templates directory. Okay. Okay. Now this is the form that must show in the browser. Here the user will type name, and after pressing the submit button, it will show the message that you see before. Now we have to add another template. We have to create these files. We have to create these files, and in the template directory, the layout.hbs file will contain just the essential parts of the HTML document, the content of the head and the content inside the body tag will be loaded from the additional files that we are creating that are head and hello.hbs. But first we have to create this one. Here we are going to create the layout.hbs file. Okay. So now the content of this file will only be the basic structure of the HTML document, and now we have to create the head and hello template. And from the code snippets, we copy the head section of our hello.html document. This is the only content that this file will have. Then we copy the content between the body tags to the hello.hps. Okay, now we have to add these 3 lines in the same document. Okay, so now that we added these lines, we can save changes. And now we have to declare the hello root in our main.rs file. Something important here. Okay. Okay. The content of this file is not the right content that should be there. Let me copy this from Okay. Okay, I will copy this and then I will explain uh, what exactly is doing every line of code. Okay, I will delete this line. Okay, so there is a crate that we can use for serializing and the serializing files for example, if we want to read data from a JSON file, we can use Serde so that we can serialize the content of that file and pass it to the HTML document in the way that Rocket required that this data should be. So we use Cerda for that, for serializing data, especially if we are reading content from files, but also for specifying the data type of the values that we are passing through the HTML document or to another route. And as we are creating a form and we have to read the values that we get from that form, we have to specify the macro that we'll be using for that. And well, let me copy this and update the content of these snippets so you can have it. Now you can copy it from the code snippets. Okay, so I will start explaining here. So now we have to declare another route, that is the hello route. But as this route is receiving, is getting the data or values from a form, we have to tell to specify here in the definition of the root, and that the method we are using is post. The root that we are adding is hello, and that this is the value that we are getting from the form. This is actually the name that we assign to the form, and we have to pass this value to the data variable, and then in the definition of the request handler, we declare the variable user that will store that data, and we have to declare a struct for to assign the data type correctly, and the value that this function will be returning is template, as this function is rendering a template. And inside the function, we declare a variable where the value that we receive from the form, I mean the value of this text box will be stored here in this variable. And if we want to read the values that we get from the form, we use the method into inner after the name of the variable that is storing the values that we receive from the form, that is the variable user, and we have to use this method for reading that content, and then specify the name of the text box, so we can assign correctly this value, the value of the text box, to this variable. So above we declare the struct where we are defining the data type that we are assigning to those to that variable, or the variables that we are using for storing the data that we get from the form. Then, as we are returning a template with a variable, instead of doing this, passing an empty value, we define a struct named template context. When we specify what is the layout parent for the hello template that we are rendering here, we must remember that in the template directory, we have the hello template, but the content of this template is loading through a parent layout, that is this file, and we are dividing the content into different files. The head template that have the content of the head tag of the HTML document, and the index template that have the content inside the body tag of our document, and the layout that loads all the content of the HTML document for this template. So we have to specify what is the parent layout, and that will be the layout .hbs file. So we are assigning a title, a name, the values that we are passing, the parent layout, and here we assign a title. This could be anything you want. The name, it is not required, so we pass no as value. And this is the variable that we will be passing to the HTML document. And this is the value that we are passing to that document. That is the name variable that we declared before, that contains the content of what the user typed in this text box, and the name of the parent template, that is layout. Okay, so now that we have this, we can build the project. Okay, it will take some time to build, as it is downloading the dependencies again. Okay, we have to add another dependency, as we are using Cerde for serializing part of the content that we get from the form. And we have to tell the compiler that the feature that we'll be using is the lift, where the if is the feature where the serialized macro is available. So we have to add this line to the manifest. And after we run the application, we will see this welcome message, and it will print the name that we received from the form. Okay, let's wait a minute until. Okay. This is actually not the directory where the. Okay, so. Okay. Okay, this is the right directory. So. Okay. I forgot to add the dependencies. Okay, I wasn't in the right directory, but
All right, everyone. I think we are just about ready for another break. Are you okay with pausing here for now, Mario?
yeah, it is okay.
Okay, great. We'll give you all another 5-minute break. So get some coffee, something to eat, and we'll be back here at 33, let's say, 33 past the hour. So see you then. All right, everyone, we are back from our brief 5-minute break. And so, Mario, you can take it away for our last third of the workshop today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have to add we have to add another dependency to the manifest of our project. We are using Cerde, as I told you before, and this is the latest version available of that crate. And this is the only feature that we need for our project. And also, I forgot to add I just changed the name here of the root from hello to welcome, and I added this root to the here, so that it can be mounted when the application runs. Okay, so now that we made those changes, now that we made those changes, adding the dependency to the manifest. This is the latest version available of Cerde and the only feature that we require. In the main.rs file, I changed here the name of the root and also the request handler, and add this here so that the root can be mounted when the application runs. Now, if we run the and type any name here, okay, there's a detail here. Let me check. Okay. Here, the name of the template. We also have to change the name here. Okay. This is the directory. Okay.
Hi, Mario. Sorry to interrupt you. If you are sharing your screen, we cannot see it at the moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So I will change Okay. Okay, I just copy the templates outside the directory. So I will move this to the templates directory. And the hello, but I will change the name of this to welcome HPS. Okay, now this should work. It says that the welcome root is available. Okay. Okay. Let me check later this. Don't know where is the error. we'll go back to this exercise at the end, but now we um, oh yeah, thank you. I forgot to change. I forgot to change the URL here in the um, index template here. Thank you. Okay. This should be the right path. Okay, let me check this later. I will continue with the next exercise. Okay, what are the changes that we will see in the next version of Rocket? First, we have to, if we want to try the develop, if we want to try the version that is under development, we have to add the Rocket crate to the manifest by specifying the URL of the GitHub repository, and we will have to do the same for the Rocket Concrete dependency. And the line that we write at the beginning of the code, it isn't necessary, and we also don't require the main function. We can declare a Rocket function and add this line before the declaration of the function. And if we compile using the stable version of Rust, we will the app will run without any error. And these are some of the changes that the development team is trying with the next version. Don't know if this is the way that we have to build an app in the next version, but now if we want to try it, these are the changes that we have to make to the code. We will see that in the next exercise. I will later go back to the first exercise to fix the issue I got, but we must continue so that we can see how we can take one of our projects to a production environment. I mean this line in the code snippets that I shared before, and you must find the code that we will be that we have to write for this exercise. We are going to create a business card, and the app will get the data from a JSON file. We are going to create a new project and then change to the directory. And here we will use the stable version, so we can we will change nightly for stable. We have to create the static directory, and then inside this directory we have to create the CSS directory, the JS images and data directories, and outside the static directory we have to create the templates directory, and then add the dependencies to our manifest and create the template. For this exercise we will only have one template. I will show you an example running so we can have time for see how we can prepare our project for taking it to a production environment. I will search. Okay. 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 First, let's see how the manifest will look like. We add Rocket as a dependency using specifying the Git repository, the URL of the Git repository. We are using Cerde for serializing the data, and we are also using Cerde.json, which is the crate that we use for reading content from a JSON file. This is available here in the snippets. There is one last snippet named business card. Okay. This one. First, we add the dependencies to our manifest. These are the dependencies that we need that are here. And as we are creating a library for reading the content of the JSON file, we assign another name, and this could be any other name, and the path where the library is located, and this file is in the src directory. So we add this to our manifest. We'll delete this one. Then we copy the content of the index.html file, and we create the templates. There will be 3 templates. I will show you here. We will copy the content of the head to the head.hbs file, and the content inside the body tags to index.hbs file, and this line I added this line to a footer template, but it isn't necessary. We can copy this inside the same template for the index. Okay, so first we change the content of the manifest. We go to, in the template directory, we create the layout template. We add this content. There are 3 other templates that are loading here: the head, index, and footer. The content of the footer template, you can add it to the index template, so this line isn't necessary. Okay, we add the layout template here. Okay, now we create the template directory and the static directory. Inside the templates directory, I will create the layout template. E okay. Now we have to create the index template. We will copy the content of the okay. We will copy this, and we have to make some changes here as we are adding some information like social profiles, name, and biography, and we have to change here. We have to put the values, the name of the variables that we are passing from the Rust code to the HTML document. As we see here. I will explain this in some minutes. Okay. The JSON file where I have stored the data that will be shown in the HTML document are in well, in that document there are 3 objects. And I have to iterate through the content of this object so I can print the values of those variables. I have a name, a job title. I will show you how in a minute. This is just the first object inside that JSON file, and we have to iterate through this file and print the values that we require here. And talking about the links to the social profiles, as these values are stored in the JSON, we don't have to add as many links as we have social profiles in that JSON. As we are iterating through these values, we just have to add one link, and it will automatically add the 4 or 5 values that we have in that JSON. And for the content of the bio, we also have this value here, and the social profiles again. Okay. This is the content of the head template, and if I go to the main.rs file, here we import the rocket crate, the import rocket country. Mylib is the name of the library that we are creating in the lib.rs file. And this is one method that is declared inside that library. And we have to tell the compiler that we need access to that method. And then to specify what macros of the rocket concrete crate we will be using. Those are template and static file for mounting the static directory. We also have to we will be using also the serial as macro for declaring the struct that we are passing to the HTML document for rendering the template correctly. We only have one root. The base path is this one, and the name of the request handler will be index. We are passing the data that we get from the JSON file to the library that we created. You have to specify the parent layout. And here is what I was telling you about. In the next version of Rocket, we don't have to declare the main function. We could only have one function named Rocket, and that function will return this value, this data type. Inside that function, we mount the static files directory, using the static files macro, and then we mount the index template, attach the fairing, and by adding this line before the declaration of the rocket function, we tell the compiler that this is the function that must be run when the application is executed. So these are some of the changes that we will see in the next version. It's still under development, so it will probably change in the future. But okay. And the static directory, we have this file. These are the content that the application is reading. The profile object includes name, job title, profile picture, biography, and the object social includes the URL, user, and icon for the social profiles. I'm using font awesome, so that is why I have to specify the icon for the link. And this is the library that I created for reading the content of the JSON file. So in the JSON file, I have nested objects, so I have to declare a struct for every object in that JSON, I will be using the serialize and deserialize macro. I will also be using the serve the JSON crate and using these macros for reading and loading the content of the JSON file inside a buffer. And these are this is the first struct that we must declare. We have two objects. They are profile and social. And we have to declare a struct for every object inside that JSON. We have a profile, and the values that we have there are name, job title, profile picture, and biography. And in the social object, we have a string. We have a URL, user, icon, and these are the data type of these values is a string. And this is the method that get all the data from the JSON file. We open the file here, then we load the content of that file inside a buffer, and then we convert that data to a JSON object. Okay, I forgot to add this, but and this is how the application will look like. It will load the values of every social profile. It will read the data from the JSON file. It will read the values of name, job title, and this is a two-sided business card. So if I click here, it will show the biography that we had in the that we added in the JSON file. Okay, I will. Okay. I will go directly to this. We won't have time for doing this, but I will explain generally how we can prepare our application for a production environment. We have to add 3 files. This is the frog file. Here we tell Heroku how to run the application. Heroku assigns to any application, assigns the port dynamically, so we can specify what port we'll be using, but we can get that value from Heroku through this variable. We also have to tell Heroku that the production will be, well, that the environment will be production, and where the binary of the application is located. And this is the Rocket TOML file. Here we specify the configuration for every environment. The most important is production that we have here. In production, the base URL will be the one that Heroku assigns when you create a new application. And this is general configuration. And other file that we have to create is the Rust config, and it will contain the version of Rust that we are using for a project. This could be nightly or stable or beta, depending on what version of Rocket is being used. We send these changes to the repository. At Heroku, we create a new app, and we add the build pack for Rust. Build pack, well, Heroku don't have an official build pack for Rust, but there is a build pack developed by some community members. And after creating the app, we go to the dashboard and get the API key. And well, we have to configure the continuous integration tool that GitLab provides. You can also use GitHub Actions, but for this particular example, I'm using GitLab. And in the settings configuration, we add a new variable with the value of the API key that we copied before, and then we create the configuration file for the continuous integration tool, and it will contain this. It will have two stages, build, and for building, we will be using a Docker image. Rust has official Docker image. We can use the nightly version of that, image, or the stable version. If we want to run some tests, we leave this line here. And for production, we are using a Docker image of Ruby, and here we have to specify the provider that will be Heroku, the name of the app. This could be this should be the name that you assign when created the app, and the value of the variable where the API key is stored. Once that we did all of these steps, if we go to the URL that Heroku assigned to our application, we will see this app running. I can share some examples that I have running on Heroku, but as we are running out of time, I will leave a space for asking questions if you have one. I can provide with some tutorials if you want to take a look at how you can configure your application for taking it to production. I have some tutorials that I already published. And if there is any question.
Great. Yes, let's open it up for questions, everyone. This is the end of the talk, so I didn't see any in the Q&A, so hopefully that means that he has been very clear with his explanations. But as he said, there are definitely tutorials he can link to you guys. So if you have any questions for him, this is the time. While we are waiting for any to come up, I just want to say thank you, Mario, for coming again, especially being so early in Mexico right now. You had to do an amazing thing waking up early. So thank you for your contribution to RustLab. We definitely appreciate that. Was there anything else you wanted to add about your participation in RustLab?
Well, I want to say thank you for the opportunity, and for those that joined the workshop. If you want to get more information about the topic that I talk about, I can add some resources in the GitLab repository that I shared at the beginning. I will update the content of that README, and if you have any other question, you can also contact me through my email or Twitter.
Fantastic. Well, really, thank you so much for that. And I think those who are watching found that very useful, your tutorial. So it looks like nobody wrote any questions for now, so that means you were very thorough, hopefully. So I want to say thanks again to all of you for coming, and thanks to our speaker, Mario Garcia, again. And hopefully the next edition of RustLab will be live, and maybe we can see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. So that actually concludes our day for RustLab today. I want to remind everyone that if you liked this workshop, you can rate it on the agenda page of the RustLab website. And so we'll be waiting for you for day 3 of RustLab tomorrow, which starts with a recruitment session by Deviler at 12:15. Italian time, followed by a rundown of async await by Pawan Bisht. Then we have the state of WASI support in Rust and WebAssembly toolchain by Michael Yuan. And finally, an Acro PC by James Munz. So I hope you enjoyed our workshop for today, given to you by Mario Garcia. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 3. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.